Hi, everybody. My name is Plywood, and with me is.
Hey guys, I'm Aerlien.
I am doing the left side of the controller for this Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes 2-player, 1 controller run on normal difficulty.
Yeah, this run is kind of wild, and especially because of how well we pulled this off. Um, there's a lot of coordinating that needs to be done for a two players, one controller, and for this game in particular, we were both surprised at how well we performed.
Yeah, this was our second completed run of 2-player, 1 controller, and this time that we got a 58 in game time, 58 flat. Um, if you get that time as an individual player, you're quite good at the game. And
No kidding.
we're not just saying that to like pat ourselves on the back. Like legitimately, this is a pretty nice time to achieve just on your own. So the fact that our twin brains melded into this is really something. And with some more effort and time, I don't I don't know, man. Maybe we could get that 57. I think that 57 is totally achievable.
I agree. It was so cool to get sub-hour RTA as well. Um, with our first run, it was sort of a chance to have us feel out each other's style and determine the parts that we need to communicate the most. So we are definitely capable of communicating with each other and figuring out how to do everything smoothly and easily while having it be safe for marathons.
Yeah, I think the really tough thing as far as the communication sometimes is like menus. Menus in particular in this run, like you need to just be like menu to blank, because to, for instance, for us to menu a weapon, Aerlien has to hold down the right trigger and then I have to do the movement in the menu. So, or if we're menuing to use Pentasmin to steady our aim for Wolf, I have to say I'm menuing, and then he has to press A to use the Pentasmin.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
otherwise, a lot of the time during this run, it is more of a. It's very ghostly. It's like you're doing the things you would normally do during a run, but half of it is not you. um, so that can be pretty tricky. And with normal difficulty, which has not been shown off at a GDQ, we're going to be doing things that are not quite as stealthy. We're going to be killing people because, well, it's faster, but it's actually pretty entertaining, the normal run in its own right, because there's just some tricks and things that you wouldn't normally see in Extreme, such as this helipad here. Trank this guy, roll into him, just going real quick.
Yeah, that wasn't so bad. Like the whole thing with normal movement between bosses, it's a lot more direct. It's you take more risky lines. It's not necessarily risky because this game is very forgiving with your health bar, but the movement and the tricks for normal really are very interesting, and a lot of the things between normal and extreme are different and unique in their own ways, but normal should definitely not be slept on.
No, it's, and overall the normal run is more optimized than Extreme.
That's true.
Not just because it's easier to optimize, but I mean, it is a little bit easier, but at the same time, because it's easier, it's been optimized more, so it's harder. So, worthwhile mentioning as we start this runoff that I, for the most part, play on D pad with my movement, which is a bit odd for Aerlien because I know he typically uses analog during this run. However, as I understood it at the time when we did this run, that was actually kind of a nice thing for you because you kind of knew, D-pad movement is very predictable. So
Yeah.
there was kind of a good sense of like, okay, plywood's going to be moving like this.
Yeah, whereas analog stick movement is like very precise, very intricate with certain rooms. Having the movement player on D-pad is like really helpful, since mostly everything is like analog based. You don't have many directions to work with, and since we played the game so many times, we know about where the other person is going to move or do their menus, but sometimes we will have to call it out. Through the vent section right there and earlier, it is actually more optimal to use D-pad, and throughout both of them, you have to mash the right trigger to quickly swap your weapons and cancel your animation. If you do that roughly 6 times per second, that's the optimal speed for getting through the vents.
I love that we accidentally menued the cigarettes. We had a good laugh about that. So, coming into this cell fight, unlike on Extreme, where you want to trank all these guards, we will be doing a nice little trick here with the SOCOM to line up these guards, cause one of them to be surprised that the other has died. And it's called the lineup strat. This was a really good cell fight. I remember us being like, man, we blew it out of the park.
Yeah, we
on this
nailed
one.
it.
Because it's not just a matter of coordination. You need to have such an extreme level of knowledge about the game itself for this to work well. It's not just a coordination thing. It's really a knowledge thing that you can trust the other person to know exactly what to do at certain times. And I do the aiming, and Aerlien does the buttons. Just that tap, tap, tap. They're done, done, done. And they do die more quickly than if they were to fall asleep. It takes a bit longer for them to fade out when they fall asleep. So this cell fight is faster on that front, too. So yeah, under a 7 out of the cell, really nice. We were really happy about that one.
Yeah, that's just a crazy time. Back when running this game was a bit less optimized, sub 7 for that was extremely desirable by the top runners. It's so crazy how we've advanced to the point where we can do it 2 players, 1 controller.
Yeah, just a lot of effort and work has been put into this game that it's come to this point, and a lot of fun stuff coming up ahead on the normal run, and a new skip that has not been shown yet at a GDQ event, so look forward to that. That is a fun one, a new glitch. So here, since we have rations, it doesn't matter the damage we take. We can just tank the C4 explosions. Just nice. Especially when you place it a little bit wrong. But that's okay. Now, coming up to
the best fight.
The best
Ocelot.
fight. Which is
Anyone can do this fight.
literally the same as Extreme, basically. Nothing new to see here. Hit the hair, not the pillar. Done and done. But the tank fight, however, is not going to look like the Extreme tank fight. Totally different strat. The tank itself has seen, on normal, an impressive level of development. It hasn't really been changed all that much recently on normal. However, the way it used to be done was just a nightmare. Until we figured out that you can stand on a little ridge and make the tank fairly predictable. But even within that predictability, you have to have a good knowledge of how to approach your shots against the gunner. It looks on the surface just like you're shooting him, and that's it. But there is a certain pace and timing you want to do with your shots, along with it being kind of a weird shot you have to do to hit their head.
If you mistime it, the tank will go into a frenzy, and it is completely impossible to track. It wastes so much time. We took great care to make sure we weren't going to let that happen. And the tank is also one of the reasons why we are more partial to doing 2 players 1 controller on normal as opposed to extreme. The current extreme strat is very, very difficult for even doing it on your own. We probably wouldn't do the most optimal strat even if we were on extreme.
You have to do something that ensures like some safety, but it's like that fight takes a ton of coordination on your own. So that's why normal tank is a lot more preferable and marathon safe. There's just more room for error and less ways to screw it up. So we're going to be rolling across the snowfield to the right and then cut over to the middle ridge. And this shot coming up was insane that this was hit. This is a really hard shot to do, that tracking shot. The timing and positioning on the shot is really tight for that. Like this tank fight, I was just floored that we even got this. So you time this shot based off the bullets flying, get that headshot in third person. And then I think this was just, it was just literally perfect. Okay, never mind. Okay, we didn't get that, but still, it was a really good day. I can't believe it.
Almost feel like you jinxed it in real time.
I did.
Wow.
It's like I jinxed it from the future. Like, no, this was a perfect fight. Totally perfect. No problems.
Yeah. We got the hard parts down.
The hard part was that first shot. That was incredible. So yeah, door skip, you move in the opposite direction while crouched, and that allows you to get through the door. And on normal, you throw a chaff immediately and run at the guard. It looks kind of scary, like running straight at the guard, but the reality is that if you don't run straight at the guard, he's more likely to hit you.
It's true.
Really counterintuitive.
If you move too far up, like if you look at the map as a 2D plane, like if you move too far up, you're gonna guarantee get shot by a shotgun. So there are very specific ways you have to approach certain enemies in this game, but we already knew that in advance. We just have to react to each other's movements and tactics.
Yeah, one of the tough things with 2P1C is that sometimes you don't have to do all that much as one side of the controller, and other times you have to totally be in tune with what's going on. So like right here, this is pure movement to guide this Nikita after it being fired. And of course, Aerlien getting that little time save, the frame saver of switching to the chaff and tossing the chaff because we don't need it. It actually helps with our menus here. So Ninja, since this video was recorded, has had some improvements as far as the skip. You're going to see us use the Nikita to try to do the phase 1 skip, or what do we even call it? I guess we just keep them phase.
Well, yeah, we keep them. It's not even like a skip almost. You gotta reset the ninja's AI with a lethal weapon. We choose the Nikita because at the time this was the most updated version. There's actually been a revamping. Like this fight has gone through so many changes throughout Twin Snake's life, but this one, the loop with the Nikita, is very safe. All you do is have a full combo on him. You use a handgun, and then for the kick, switch to Nikita for extra power. But there's a SOCOM strat that you can use instead.
That's Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah,
the sequel.
Lethal Weapon 2. you would shoot him instead, and you can optimize the damage a little bit by performing a tricky punch into immediate Nikita roll. But when we if we were to do another 2-player 1 controller run, we would likely be updating to that strat.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this fight in particular, we messed up the damage coming into phase 2, because the idea here is you take him to a low enough HP in phase 1, and then you finish him off in phase 2 after he says that dialogue. So it was a small time loss, but because we missed that kick, unfortunately. Even so, this is still a lot easier than what we used to have to do at this fight. Everyone at high level was so happy when it was discovered that we could do this lethal weapon loop thing. This fight was just a nightmare beforehand.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Twin Snake scientists. They've really outdone themselves with the new strategies and making Ninja that much better. Ninja used to require frame perfect inputs and all sorts of complicated movement. It's a lot better now than it used to be.
Here's like the longest cutscene string in the game.
Yeah, we're going through this gauntlet. I guess. I mean, it's fairly obvious if you look at where both the shoulder buttons are, but sometimes, like Plywood was mentioning in the beginning, menus have to be done with both players. So I'm in charge of the weapon menu, Plywood's in charge of the item menu, and when I select a weapon, he's in charge of the movement, and then if it's his turn for item menuing, all I have to do is time like the pentasamin usage. That's one of the parts where it can get kind of confusing. Like earlier, we swapped to the cigarettes, and it's just another level of communication that needs to be. I don't want to say enforced, but
you have to like, some things we can kind of communicate implicitly just from our gameplay because of how familiar you are with the game. Menus are just not like that, because typically menus in Metal Gear games, you can kind of do them whenever you want. So like that's just kind of personal preference for the most part. You just have to do it before a certain moment. So because of that, there's no like, you got a menu right here thing typically. You have to say, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah. If you mistime it, or like you autopilot yourself and just do the menu, like especially for me, since I'm not in charge of movement, then the movement could get translated into item swapping, and it would be really awkward.
Yep.
So right here, we're gonna knock out Meryl.
That's the fastest by frames. True story. We've learned the science. We know how to save frames, folks.
Going into a pretty complicated fight, Plywood decides to do the mashing since I was closer to the controller socket.
Yep.
So
he can switch it to port 4, and I have control of the start button, given that I really don't have any buttons. It's more than fair. This fight in particular, we didn't really have the greatest success with, but even since the my SGDQ run of Extreme, there has been, yet again, more optimization and changes to this fight, with a new setup involving a couch at the very start. So, I'd say this fight is honestly like probably the one that has seen literally the most changes.
Yeah, the most changes. I agree.
Ninja has seen a lot, but Mantis, just because trying to control where he moves can be really tricky. You just keep on keeping on with, oh, we should try this. No, let's do this setup. I think the one we've got so far, knock on wood, is probably, with this new couch setup, probably the one. But I've said that multiple times before, so...
Yeah, this new one we've come up with is like considerably faster. I don't even know how we swapped to this.
I
so
think,
calm there.
Yeah, I remember us being confused about that, and we're just like, okay, we'll just swap back. Yeah, we were trying to do a setup for the damage, the non-lethal damage, so Meryl would fall back down and not shoot us, because it's really easy for her to shoot us if you don't do that possession skip. So not the cleanest fight, but with some practice and some effort, I'm sure we'll be able to nail it down. Ninja and Mantis were the weak points of this run overall. Still not like horrible, but not like the most clean. But it makes sense because those fights require a great deal of coordination on your own. Ah, these dogs. Coming in the cave, we're gonna shoot Meryl so we can skip some dialogue here and roll right through her. Saves like 7 seconds.
We're gonna take the safest lines possible through this.
Yeah.
Claymore Field. It's not like MGS one where you can just run right through.
Yeah, we did learn though that you can roll through the mines and perfectly time your menus to avoid the damage frames from the claymores. However, that is not an RTA strat.
I hope not.
I hope not myself.
Because we had one of our newer runners just completely do it on his first try and get both menus perfectly timed and not take any damage. It was pretty insane. But definitely not reliable in an RTA setting. And now we're getting bullied by dogs more.
Yeah.
There are lines you can take to make it like less likely you get attacked, but it could still happen.
Yeah, I was trying, we didn't really practice it, but I found a way to make that cave safer. I just forgot to tell you that you needed to shoot that second dog as we were rounding the corner and that it'd be okay. Because you shoot as you're exiting the tunnel with Wolf, and then that alerts the dogs in such a way that you can avoid them, but you have to shoot the second dog as you round the corner.
Right, because the dog's AI is... there's a little bit of variance for how they walk if you don't alert them right away.
Yep, and that variance can become quite tricky, and they can potentially get you in a situation where if you don't punch kick them, they could just essentially stun lock you as you try to go underneath the rock. So gotta be prepared for those sorts of things.
The worst is when there are multiple dogs on you.
Yeah, that is no good. These dogs are vicious. Probably the most vicious of the solid games, the 3D games.
So we're coming up to the first sniper battle. Sniper Wolf is fairly predictable. We agreed to do our menus here, I believe. Yeah, we do the menus here. And she can either start off on the right side, she can start off prone, she can start off by the pillar. We got right side that time, and we didn't have much time to react and pick our shots. This is all about precision aiming, and on my end, timing it so we can intercept Wolf on her path. Ideally, you hit every headshot, but the body shot is no problem. And then right there, we thought she was going to hide behind the pillar, because she often does that, but she actually moved further. So it was a little bit messy, but overall, still executed well. And then right there, I usually do my menu there, and I completely autopiloted. So I brought up the menu and confused Plywood by accident.
That menu is just weird. The menu is just weird. And then, of course, we rolled just a hair outside of the cutscene trigger. That's one of the fun things about two-player one controllers. Just more moments of comedy, just because, like, you know, the important parts of coordination are great, but sometimes you make those like silly mistakes just from like, oh wait, you're doing that. Oh, you're doing that then. Okay. So right here we submit to the torture. Believe me, folks, Aerlien can mash quite well to save himself through this torture to save Meryl, so no worries there. It's not that bad. But during this run, we're going purely for speed. Adds like it's like 4 minutes or so to the run, something like that, to save Meryl rather than saving Otacon, submitting to the torture. Hardest part is not the torture itself. It's remembering that there's a bomb in your inventory that you got to throw out.
And I doubt it would ever happen, but you can go too fast in the torture. Humans can achieve the level of robots from this game's point of view.
According
You go
according
too
to
fast, you
Silicon
get
Knights,
penalized.
you are totally a turbo. Well done, devs. Well done. So, this prison sequence is pretty exciting because there was a pretty crazy development that happened after my extreme run at SGDQ 2018. We found a way to break the story flags as you exit the torture sequence. Now, there is like a very precise, hard way of doing this that there is no way in heck that a two-player one-controller run would do. It's really hard on your own. But basically what we're going to do here is the safe way. And what's going to happen is, after Otacon comes to give us stuff, we are going to exit the cell with the ketchup and then throw Johnny as he enters the torture chamber. While he's on the ground, we're actually going to exit the room rather than pick up our gear, which seems completely wrong. But if Johnny is not actually knocked out, when we exit into the cell area outside by the elevator, for some reason Snake will have his gear on, like rather than have his chest bare. And that means we broke the story flag, and we'll be able to come back into the room, pick up our gear. Johnny will, for some reason, still be in the bathroom, and this will break the story flags. And why is that beneficial, Aerlien?
Because having the story flag set in a previous version of the world will cause us to not have to watch the Meryl reminiscing over Meryl getting totally shot by Sniper Wolf, skipping that long cutscene in Cody
Cody
sequence.
We're gonna start calling them Codys. It's cute.
You skip the entire codec and cutscene sequences, which saves a lot of time, and there's no consequence for it later on in the run. So it's a completely free, easy time save.
We were all very excited when that was discovered because, similar to MGS 2, it's kind of hard to break the MGS 2 engine due to how the games are laid out. Very linear, and really all you can hope for is either somehow skipping the bosses in some way or breaking the story flags, and we found a way to do it with that gear. if Johnny is not actually knocked out, the game does not really consider you as advanced to the point where, you have escaped the cell. It thinks you're still in the cell. You can actually beat the game without your gear if you want, but it's annoying to say the least.
Yeah, you have to make a trip to the armory and grab some new gear. It's definitely not faster. So we just go back in for our gear instead.
Yeah, the alternate way that's even faster, which doesn't involve entering and exiting and entering the room, you have to do a insanely precise roll. I don't say that lightly either. I'm not just saying that to blow it out of proportion. It is by far the hardest thing to do in this game, to roll into your gear, which has a tiny, tiny hitbox. So you have to roll at the last second at the correct angle, so you pick up your gear and get out of the cell before Johnny enters the bathroom with his poop attack. So
yeah, if you wander too close to the trigger, like there is a hidden trigger halfway through the room, and if you go beyond that, then you get forced into the cutscene, and it's a big time loss. But you have 2 frames of leniency with your roll, and then your angle has to be spot on. Like there are a couple little notches you can hit, but it's definitely not for 2 players, 1 controller at all. It's barely even viable. Runners do that on our own.
this was like the best part about 2-player 1 controllers, being able to do disc swap together.
Yeah. I opened the lid and Plywood replaced the disc.
So yeah, that previous area is where that cutscene's supposed to be, and we just run on through. And the codec takes a while. It's not really the cutscene, it's the codec that you have to sit through, and it's a fairly long codec, so nice little time save, and cool new sequence break. I don't know, sequence break of the story flag skip thing in this game. Thing.
Whatever it is, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
At the very start of this section, we threw a frag grenade to incapacitate the guards that were following us, and we're going to be cycling between stun grenades and M9 through the way. There isn't much risk of being slowed down heavily. The M9 strat is definitely way safer than just using stuns along the way, so that is the preferred method we choose.
Oh man. Sometimes
get knocked over.
Yeah, we accidentally, there's a certain stun throw that you want to go for, and that's the one at the flat floor with the door. But we hit it on the rail, and it's quite easy to do so. You need to position yourself just right along the wall, and then throw the stun at a certain time as you're cooking it. It's a bit tricky. Thankfully, this being normal, that's not going to cause many headaches. So, not too bad. So, coming up, we're going to be doing a method to get across the walkway that is unique to the lower difficulties. That it's kind of similar to how we approach the cell fight with the lineup strategy. The guards are going to get spooked that a guard dies, and then that'll allow us enough time to run forward and throw a stun.
Actually, I don't think we do
or
that strat.
Did we not do that?
I believe we did the PSG-1T strat, because I'm only saying that. It's been a long time since I watched this run, but I threw away the last stun. I think we agreed beforehand to do the PSG-1T strat, since it's much easier than having to aim with the SOCOM like really far off into the distance. I could be wrong.
I think you might be right, actually. But I think if we were to do this run in a marathon, we'd show off that strategy
Yeah,
because it is
we should.
pretty neat. No, this
This repels.
I don't think
Yeah.
we got the trick. Oh no,
Yeah.
we did. No, we did. Nice.
Yeah, that was very smooth.
Yeah, that was a good girder glitch, launching us down like that. Nice and improved since my SGDQ run. Either way here, like, it is kind of awkward, like, drinking all these guys. It's very weird sniping on 2P1C. I think it's probably the most bizarre feeling thing on either side of the equation. Aerlien's, like,
Yeah.
waiting for me to position, and I'm just like, man, if I move this correctly. Okay, not a whole lot going on here in the tower sequence. This is a nice, relaxing part of the run. If there was a way to skip the hind, it would be in this tower, but we haven't really figured out a way to do that yet. There's only 2 bosses that theoretically could be skipped, and the hind is one of them. The other is Mantis. If you could somehow get behind the bookshelf and go to the door, you'd be able to skip Mantis, but good luck. Good luck trying to find a way to get through the bookshelf. We would love to see an any percent style skip of bosses in this game. Be really cool. Until then, though, it's pretty much play the game mostly as intended.
Yeah, it's fairly airtight. We've done a lot of labbing and research for trying to get to the bottom floor early without triggering the death flag for falling, but we haven't been able to do so. And then same with Mantis, in a way, we haven't been able to find a way to go through walls in general. But that bookshelf is, it's hollow, but we can't find a way to boost ourselves through. So we're stuck fighting the bosses and going up this laggy tower while rolling through the bullets slightly faster.
Yeah, we roll instead of using chaff as you would on extreme because you can take the damage with the rations. Rations are so helpful. It makes the run smoother, safer, etc., etc. So it's a pretty key component of the lower difficulties. Okay, the hind. This fight is harder on normal compared to extreme, and that is because on normal, randomness can be a much bigger chore in the second phase of the fight. Typically, in phase 2, on extreme, when the hind flies below the roof, it comes up rather quickly, practically instantaneously most of the time. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer, but it's still fairly quick. On normal, though, you hope that he's fast, but most of the time he's going to fly it below the roof for a really, really long time. And it is pretty much the bane of all normal runners, this hind fight. Not only that, but you could possibly finish him off in phase 2, but it is insanely difficult, unlike the cage that you can do in the original game. Still haven't really figured out how to make that work ideally in this game.
Yeah, there's so much, like, it's very hard to predict what the hind is going to do on normal. On extreme, he's moving super fast and to his destination quickly, whereas this hind can sometimes not stay up long enough, sometimes it stays down for far longer than you want. You can lose runs just from the hind staying down for an extra long amount of time if you were to go for record attempts. This thing is really annoying, and it's it can be sometimes a pain to hit behind all the obstacles.
That was a
So
nice hook shot right there.
yeah,
You want to go for those hook shots while it's flying below the roof so you can get that extra hit. Very nice to hit those, because to not hit those, you're adding more. Well, you're adding more shots and you're adding more chance for the hind to mess you up with its timing. And we're just staring at this corner to avoid lag from the missile. It just saves time, RTA.
we'll need the stinger on quick swap anyway for a slightly faster menu, so we just choose to reduce lag while we're at it. And right here, we're going to be throwing grenades at specific points to disable the turrets on the way down.
This is also feels extremely weird when you're 2 players.
Yeah. Because, yeah, I do this part with analog, so I have to make educated guesses based on the timing and how well the turn was, when to actually throw the grenade. I wasn't entirely accurate the first try, so I'm adjusting as we go, because this is another part in the run we didn't really practice, because there's not much that goes on here.
Yeah, if you mess up, all you do is roll down the stairs instead to avoid getting shot a bunch. So it's not really like a... It's not something where, oh, if you mess it up, runs over, you just do a different strat instead.
Yeah, it's not a problem point, it's just another test of coordination.
It's really interesting at a personal level, being able to see, like, because like the way I time my grenades is completely different from how Aerlien times his grenades. So it's really neat. That's one of the things that I like about 2-player 1 controller, because now I'm like 3 games into doing 2P1C in this series. That melding of timing and strategy on things that are personal preference is pretty cool. Now, this is like probably the highlight of normal strategies. Now you can't do this on extreme because you'd kill all these guys, but we already know that they're here. We're just gonna drop a C4 and blow ourselves up, and they all die. I love
this
it.
is Twin Snake's normal in a nutshell.
You know, blow yourself up, kill everyone in a room but you, because you're a badass, and you could just handle an explosion right at your feet. No problem.
Something else that we're coming up to that needs to be taken like a little less ham is Sniper Wolf 2. We've established already how awkward it is controlling PSG-1 with 2 people in the pilot seat. So when we find our spot on top of the PSG-1T ammo, Plywood immediately switches to Pentasmin. We're trying to decide which menus to do first. You have to locate Wolf first with the Stinger ammo and wait for her iframes to go down. You can machine gun her on normal difficulty. Once she comes out, you just lay a whole bunch of bullets in her path. This one a little more precise, since it only had 1 bullet in the clip. The whole time we're waiting to pounce on her when she emerges from behind the tree trunk.
That shot. Oh,
wow, that shot.
I know.
Yes.
This was such a good wolf too. The positioning was just right on my part, and the timing of the shots was just right on Aerlien's part. That is just like, oh man. I remember this wolf too just being incredible, and yeah, that's a highlight. That was a highlight for sure. Yeah, the reason why we can machine gun her is, unlike on Extreme where we need the ammo for the PSG-1T, that's not going to be a problem for Raven. So we can just stand
Yes.
on the ammo pack, get our ammo back, and just fire over and over and over again at Wolf. And
For a Raven, you need multiple clips on extreme, but we'll be taking a much more direct approach on normal here,
yes.
as per the usual in this difficulty.
So this is going to be the same kind of approach you would take on extreme, except we're going to be using the SOCOM since guards disappear more quickly when you kill them rather than using a tranquilizer dart. So nothing too extraordinary to see here. We just got to snap to our targets with pressing B. And take them out. This guy refused. But sir, we will convince you that yes, you must take this bullet to the face. If you're wondering what's going on there, you could do a little shimmy while holding a gun up. If you tap a direction over and over again, Snake will start like moonwalking backwards. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's some kind of... He moves at the speed of light just for a moment so he can go back to his old position. It's kind of weird.
Snake's a more accomplished dancer than you think. See, there it is.
You do it in every direction as long as you... I mean, you can use the analog stick, but the method is somewhat different. There are multiple methods to pulling off this weird movement thing that isn't even intended to begin with.
It's something about how the acceleration is, I guess.
Yeah.
With the engine. Because you can do it as well on Metal Gear Solid 2, I believe. There's like the one room where I use analog. Just for that angle right there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, better than jiggling back and forth between up and right, up and right.
Yep.
That's one of the benefits of analog stick. So we just took that shot to the face, and we have rations, so it's no problem. We're going to be pelting this guy with stingers right in his face.
Yeah, because you don't actually get knocked to the ground when you're in first person, so yeah, he's just done. Our weapon's better. Sorry. He's carrying
We never saw it coming.
He's carrying a Vulcan cannon that is on a fighter jet, and we're like, listen, we have a human-based missile system. Yeah, that's a better weapon. Sorry.
Don't know if you've ever heard of it.
It's called a Stinger. Okay.
Does it sting?
Youch. Badly. Bad Stinger. All right, Warehouse North. I don't even remember. Did we go for the kill here?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. We you just gotta walk forward and destroy this guy. Like on extreme, there is a slight chance to get caught right there, but in normal, that's exactly what you want to do. Distract the guard up top so he doesn't shoot at you.
There's someone else here. Send back up ASAP.
Send back up ASAP. That's the worst guard. You got the worst.
So whiny.
Voice.
It's like, it's okay, guy. We're just moving on through. Don't worry about it. Next room, the alert's cleared. They forgot immediately that we were here.
And it's for their own good. And this guy, we sort of mess up. Yeah, he's supposed to fall off the railing if we wait a moment, but something happened. I think we triggered the floor to make a noise or something, and he noticed us. He's supposed to fall off the railing so he's not in our way when we do the PAL key temperature puzzle.
Yeah, because the whole thing is when you kill a guard, specifically in the head, what they do typically, they'll kind of like hold their hand forward and then fall forward. So if they're right by the rail, that means they're going to fall over. And that means they're not going to be in our way. You can also get that with a third-person shot, but it's random whether they're going to fall forward or just kind of like spin around and fall on their back.
Yeah. this is a really scary part that we totally nail is hitting this rail grab on the way down. It's surprisingly deceptive. You think it's just like a timing thing, but there are some hidden unspoken rules about grabbing that wire. Like if you mash too fast, just like with torture sequence, the game just has no mercy for you and you fall right through. But at the same time, it's really hard to time one Y press to grab the wire. So you have to find a compromise.
Yeah, it's kind of like you delay for, well, how I do is I delay for about
Yeah.
half a second, then I tap. I don't mash, I tap, because there is a kill frame where the game's just like, oh, you're using turbo, you're using turbo, you're dead. But aside from that, though, getting the rat is super easy in this game. There's no RNG or randomness as in the original. We just gotta get down and throw that grenade. So yeah, here is the PAL card sequence. We're going to be staying in this room. I don't know why that happened. Don't think about it too much. Just a celebratory punch kick. This game has the huge quality of life change where you can just stay in this room rather than doing a very long backtrack sequence to freeze and heat the card as in the original. Definitely speeds this game up, and this is still a bit of a chore, but way less of a chore than in the original. You're going to see us roll over the guards. We didn't really mention rolling too much, but the basic thing with rolling is it's a bit slower to roll all the time because there's a recovery animation at the end. However, if you're rolling upstairs, rolling downstairs, rolling into like a loading trigger or like a cutscene trigger, then it's faster. The start of the roll is faster, but the recovery is slower. But with guards whose bodies are on the floor, Snake will kind of tiptoe on them. Like he doesn't want to like disrespect them or whatever or trip on them, so he'll walk. So with the guards in our way, we will roll past their bodies just to save a little bit of time. This is very similar, Snake controls as he would in the tanker sequence in Metal Gear Solid 2, so the same rules apply with the rolling in that game, but you only play Snake for like 10 minutes in the speedrun, whereas here, it's all Snake, baby.
Yeah. Great MGS2 engine glory.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really cool things with this game is, people wanted to play more Snake in Metal Gear Solid 2, so they got Snake Tails, and they also got the Twin Snakes, so...
Yeah, it definitely satisfied my needs for the Solid Snake. Like, this game is so much fun to run. I had a blast doing 2P1C, and it's really cool that I got to play with someone who's very skilled and knowledgeable on the game, because that was one of the reasons why it was so fun, because it was almost like another me from a different dimension was controlling Snake while I just pressed the buttons.
Ditto.
Yep.
Ditto on that. It was, I think we're still pretty surprised with how well this all went. We're like, okay, we're gonna get sub-hour, which is like the mark of like you've done pretty well in this game when you get sub-hour on your own as a player. So felt very good to achieve this run. So here you hold start in A, and you get that early codec call because we know we're about to get sealed in.
Yeah, by holding the codec, we get it first frame every time. We used to think you had to mash, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. It's just much easier to hold. We do that for a few cutscenes in the game.
A few Codys.
A few Codys, yeah. Cutscenes into Codys.
It's all for the Codys. Okay, so Rex here, you want to position yourself in just the right spot, called the magic spot, so that the missiles don't hit us. A-okay. And just time your stingers properly, which Aerlien does quite well. Easy peasy.
Yeah, very simple. If you mess up, the only thing that happens is Rex rotates a little bit, and you have to move up your position, otherwise you'll get hit by the laser and the missiles. But we didn't have that problem at all, and we won't have that problem in the second phase because there is no movement whatsoever. As long as you stay put and you don't hit the eye, or the gun below the pilot seat, then it'll be completely consistent every time.
Yeah, this fight is a complete joke as long as you know what you're doing and the stinger doesn't try to mess with you. Sometimes the stinger will just decide, hey, I'm going to lock onto this thing. And you're just like, no, that's not what I'm aiming at. So nice and smooth, Rex. But Liquid Fight, however, is way more complicated.
Uh-huh.
And we'll be going for we call the lottery roll, which is putting Liquid into the corner and rolling at just the right time so that you can damage him on every frame of the roll, or as many frames of the roll as you can. It's really tricky on your own, and with two people, timing can be a bit weird. That's for sure. Set up with the punches like that. There we go. That was
Oh, yeah, that was
a nice little one.
That's decent.
Yeah, you don't always get like the full-on lottery roll where it's just like absolute destruction. Sometimes it's just like a partial one, but partial is good for sure. So this fight honestly is harder on normal because his AI is a little bit different. He'll always keep on backing up rather than counterattacking as he would on Extreme. So you can't do the same punch loop you do on Extreme in the middle phase. Now we do little circles and punch him in his face. Kick him when he's done. That was a pretty good fight, honestly.
Yeah, that was good. For how chaotic that fight is, like liquid manipulation is something we've put a lot of time into, figuring out what makes him move to certain spots, because we need to if we want to set him up in the corner for a lottery roll. I think we pulled that part really well, especially because I noticed through some of that we weren't necessarily vocally communicating, but we understood when the other person wanted to move and react to his phase advancements and the way he was close to the edge so we wouldn't knock him off. I think that was really well done.
Yeah, there's just certain things that you can't say. They're better left unsaid. It's like that's the mental connection between the twin snakes controlling this controller, I think it just helps that we've watched each other run enough. We know the game well. We know what's up. We both have a fairly good idea of each other's play styles, so they kind of meld together in that way. Okay, so the escape sequence, we're coming up on the end game here, the end. Gotta shoot these barrels. You can shoot these guards now. Sometimes their animation is fast, sometimes they're slow. We actually want them to spin around rather than hold their hand forward and fall over when we kill them physically. But sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And now, this is... Aerlien's just going to hold down the ammo and the shoot button. This is all just movement to try to hit Liquid. The whole goal here is to fan in at the right time to hit Liquid. so that you hit him once he starts aiming at you. You don't want to make him swerve a bunch because that is a big time loss. And then try to hit him when he transitions between these phases to get extra damage. Basically, this whole sequence, there's like a hidden health bar. I don't know why they didn't include a health bar, honestly. Maybe they just wanted to make it more cinematic or dramatic, like you don't know how much you need to do. But in reality, you have to do a certain number of hits to complete this sequence. And aiming here is really bizarre. There's certain places where you want to aim and not aim, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
You have to calculate like bullet travel and all that. Make it like these shots that don't look like they're supposed to hit, but with the engine they just do because you're moving forward and the bullets are moving. Not like hit scan, but they have a travel time. We definitely popped off after we got sub-hour RTA. That was huge.
We popped off
our
so
goal
much.
was only-
We popped off so much that we forgot to skip the cutscene, but we were just like so hyped from that.
Our goal was only sub-hour IGT, but hitting sub-hour RTA was really nice for us.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge, and especially just from 2 completed attempts to get this time.
Yeah, second attempt, and we had like post-run discussion, a little bit of practice between the first and the second runs, but
It took us like
I
what,
think
like
we pulled up.
3 or 4 hours, something like that.
In total, yeah, it was like a 3-hour session.
Just some, after the first run, it was just a matter, okay, where are the things we really need to fix, which was like the laser roll before the tank fight and that sort of thing, where it's just like, okay, we need to make sure our coordination is clear here and what we need to do. And then after that, it was like, all right, great, let's just do it. And I think we did it, aside from a few, there was a few like whatever mistakes that weren't that big, and I'd say the weakest parts of this run were still Mantis and the Ninja, but I put weak in quotation marks because it's just to the relative strength of some of the other portions of the run, which were absolutely fantastic for a 2-player 1 controller. So pretty thrilling. I still love this run. It was great.
Yeah, I had so much fun. It meant a lot to me because this was my first GDQ, and got to do something so epic that I didn't plan on doing at all when I first arrived. It made it really memorable for me.
So yeah, that is going to be the commentary for our 2-player 1 controller Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes run on normal difficulty. 58 flat in game time. Thank you all for watching and for your consideration. We wanted to record this commentary track because the audio in this run was fairly quiet on the microphone, and wanted to explain this run a little bit better for those who are probably very confused. We're like, man, what is going on? How are these people doing this? And answer, it's both a communication thing, and it's also sort of a very subtle mental connection. It's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing this run. I enjoyed recording this with you, Plywood. Thanks so much for watching if you made it this far, and we hope you consider this wonderful run for the marathon.
Thank you.
this.
Do that, I can't do it.
You mustn't allow yourself to be chained to fate, to be ruled by your genes. Humans can choose the type of
power.
life they want to live.
The power.
Whether you've been programmed or not isn't important. The important thing is that you choose life. And then
With a better ninja, that would have been like a 59.
Yes, sir. The entire unit was wiped out. Yes.
Sub-hour.
Yes, sir.
RTA.
Thanks to the vaccine.
Very good.
Yes. Those two are still alive.
From there, it's just doing better
Yes,
scripts.
sir. Fox die should
And
become
just
activated soon.
menuing. But the menuing's like the hardest part to do.
Yes, sir. I recovered all of Rex's dummy warhead data. No, there are no other records. They've all been deleted from the base's computer.
No one else.
Sir,
No one's ever. Yeah, exactly. These are the
nobody knows
records.
who I really am. Yes, the DARPA chief knew my identity.
These records going to stand until we beat it, pretty much.
Probably, I can't imagine he was going to beat this. Even
No.
if he did try to do it.
Liquid is dead. The inferior one was the
You'd have to
winner.
have a
Get
life
fluid
partner.
there. Get
Until
fluid
the
in there.
very end,
Yeah,
Liquid thought he was the inferior one. Of course, the other one thinks so too. Yes, sir. I agree completely. It takes a
It has to- you have
well-balanced
to already have a
individual
very
such as
deep
yourself
knowledge
to
of the
rule
game
world.
already,
Yes.
or else it's really
Yes,
hard.
sir.
Honestly, easier than I thought it
No,
was.
sir. No one knows
I
until
didn't
you're the third one. So
I thought like we were just gonna like crumble under pressure, especially like
yes, sir.
the
I
sniping
understand.
parts,
The surveillance will continue.
because those already take coordination
Yes.
on your own.
Yes. Thank you. Goodbye, Mr. President.
58 flat.
Oh,
Sick
time. Yeah.
Sick. 58 flat.
That's almost
Twin
like
snakes,
a-
everyone.